So, in 2003 in December, following a biopsy, I find out that a previous existing condition is now transformed into a very aggressive form. And my doctor tells me to not wait 2 weeks, heavy chemotherapy followed by stem cell replacement therapy, or it's going to get me. So I'm bummed. I've been dealing with this. I had some medical treatments, and I knew that I was not getting to the source of the issue. We were just, pulling the weeds and not getting the roots. But I'm willing to do anything, but I don't know what to do. 2 days later, I walk into my local Salvation Army thrift shop, and I see this funky-looking box with floating heads and shooting stars and moons and stuff, and I'm like, what's this? And it turns out it videotapes 12 of them, and the back says, the Save Your Life Collection, a layman's course in curing last-stage diseases. And I'm like, what the hell, huh? So I pulled the cellophane off, and it says, there's no such thing as an incurable disease if you're willing to do what it takes. So I pay $6.99, and I take my box home, and I put in the first cassette thinking I found it, or it could be a Bob Marley wannabe from the trippy box to share his wisdom. But anyway, it turns out it's this amazing natural healer, Dr. Richard Schultz, Malibu, California, and he's put together an intense natural healing program that will knock out any disease. Part of this program, so it's an 18-hour-a-day program, so on that day I quit both my part-time jobs and I take my January rent money and pay $483 for herbs. I'm doing the program, and then I tell my very concerned family I'm not listening to the medical doctors. I'm doing a program I found at Salvation Army, with the floating heads, right? So they're concerned, but I'm in. Okay, so part of the program, it's intense, detoxes, all this stuff. So part of it, there's the cold sheet treatment, which is taking a knee-high cotton tube sock, putting a cup of ginger root powder, a cup of mustard seed powder, and a cup of African bird seed cayenne pepper, 350,000 international heat units, the hottest cayenne pepper you can probably find on earth. You throw it in the bath, a hot bath like a tea bag, and when it gets all murky, you get in and you bring the heat up in your body to like a fever. Then you take a cold sheet, which is soaking in ice water, and you wrap it around you. The cold drives the heat, and then you're like swaddled in wool blankets, and you cook and sweat for about 4 hours. It's intense. Okay, right. So I did this a bunch after the first time I'm doing it. My brothers Dan and David will help you. Great, need help. We're all scared. We're not sure. We have tarps all over the house. Natural healing's messy. It's messy. Okay. So because it's so hot, right, it's suggested that you take Vaseline and you cover your sensitive areas, so I'm wearing like bathing suit. So that if this doesn't kill you, you might still have fun when you get out of it, right? So I get into the bath. Okay, so I get into the bath, and we're all waiting. I'm like, I'm hot. About 10 minutes go by, and all of a sudden I feel cold, and then I feel like I'm in a vat of acid and I'm being cooked to the end, but I'm tough, I'm hanging in there. My brother David says, get out. Takes my temperature, I'm 104. So he convinces me to get out, and I'm now delirious, and I can't even stand up, and I can't breathe, and as I am on cue, my brother Dan goes to get the cold sheet that was in a bucket of water that he had put out on the deck, but it's January, Connecticut, So I'm trying to just get my bearings. As I turn and see this clear liquid of peppermint tea, about a gallon that I had drank throughout this process, miss my brother and hit the wall. I get a glimpse of my brother Dan out on the deck with a bucket-shaped ice blob that had consumed the sheet, frantically pounding the railing so that we could continue with this process, right? So he breaks that free. They wrap me up in the cold sheet, they swaddle me in wool, and they throw me in bed. So I'm like, I don't need you guys, I'm good. So what we had done is, my brother Tom had given us all fart machines for Christmas, which was a remote control that 6 different toots were, So we had decided we're going to wrap me up with the remote control in my hand so that I can call them from the living room. So I'm cooking back there, and there's lots of levels to natural healing, and I'm like all over the place. And I needed them for something, and I'm hitting the remote, no response. They're drinking beer and watching TV out in the other room by now. And of course, the remote had just melted in my hand because it's 350,000 international heat units. So anyway, it actually was a pretty intense experience. My body felt like, all of a sudden I felt like, I have a friend Jeff who's a quadriplegic, and I thought, oh my God, this is what he feels like. My head, which wasn't submerged in the cayenne pepper, felt like it wasn't even part of my body, and I couldn't move. So I did have, there's a lot going on there. So anyway, that was one night. So Dr. Richard Schultz, the creator of this thing, had said in that tape that he personally read any letter anyone wrote to him. So I wrote him a letter, and I don't know if he ever read it, but I like to imagine that he kept the 8x10 picture I had sent of myself in the bathtub, sweating, with the caption, "My idea of a long, hot bath has changed drastically over the last few months."